everything is measured in life. And if you don't measure it, you can't track it or grow it.
Welcome to another episode of The Financially Free Investor, where you will learn information and strategies on how to become financially independent by investing in real estate, something that is not taught openly in our society today. Financial freedom matters so you can live a bigger life, retire early, and do what matters most to you. Get ready to hear tried and true methods to becoming financially free with your host, Jordy Clark.
Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Financially Free Investor podcast. So today is a solo episode. I wanted to chat about a few things with you and debunk some myths maybe out there, or maybe just give you a different paradigm or way of looking at things. You know, growing up, and it's interesting because I have some awesome clients and they're looking to make some moves, and you know, as we're evaluating their financial situation and what is best for them, and you know, they're the ones deciding what's best for them. We're just giving options, maybe different options than most people might. But here's the interesting thing, you know, they brought up like, hey, we're selling a house, we're going to be putting money down on the next house. And I said, okay, well, you know, let's put as little down as possible. And they said, well, why wouldn't we put as much down as possible? And this is what I want to go into today, is this whole conversation around what's normal. Because I think a lot of the times in a lot of areas of our life, we kind of have these belief systems, we kind of have these ideas, and they're placed upon us. We don't really know how or when, but it's just, you know, kind of part of our culture, if you will, our society. And, you know, hey, you need to put 20% down on a house. You need to pay your house off as quick as possible. And those aren't necessarily bad things, but I wanted to just give a different paradigm for a couple of different reasons. So first off, putting as much down as possible, like, I think that's great. However, I have seen people who put a ton of money down on their house, and then they paid diligently for 18, 19, 20 years on a 30-year mortgage, and they only have a few years left, and then something happens. Death, divorce, you lose a job, you become disabled. There's a lot that can happen in life, and to be honest, the bank doesn't care. The bank goes, well, sorry that you're having whatever life circumstance. We need you to make your mortgage payment, or we're going to foreclose, right? You could only take, in the state of Utah, 3 months of a missed mortgage before you have a notice of default filed on you and foreclosure proceedings start. So 3 months, like, man, you or a child or someone could get cancer and be going through chemo and couldn't work. And within 3 months, the bank is just going to start foreclosing. So it gets to the point of the conversation that we had with them, which was, you're better off to take some of this money you're making from the sale of your house and stick it aside. Do nothing with it. Forget about it. Put it in a different bank account. Put it in a CD. Whatever you have to do. But that will serve as an emergency fund, right? Where if something happens and you can't work for 3 months, well, your bills get paid. And this is why financial freedom is important, because if you have enough residual income, and I covered this in my last solo episode. And by the way, we're lining up a few awesome guests, and super excited about the people we've got coming on. But anyways, if you're on your path to financial freedom, you gotta have reserves in the bank. And believe me, I struggle with this, where I wanna invest every dollar. I wanna maximize what every dollar is doing for me, because, you know, I'm about optimization. I'm about, you know, pushing things to the max, as far as, you know, like pushing myself to the max in business and how many people we can help and just everything that goes into that. And the reality is, you need money. Sitting, doing nothing, it's boring, but man, I'll tell you, when you need that and you tap into it, it hurts tapping into it. But I can promise you it hurts a lot less than having to put life expenses on a credit card, or being forced to sell an asset that you don't want to sell just based on the fact that you need cash to pay bills. And, as you grow in your journey as an investor, I believe we all kind of start out as spenders, and then we have to progress into being a saver, and then we progress into being an investor. And then, the pinnacle of that is you kind of hit financial freedom, where you have enough passive income coming in from real estate or dividends or whatever, however you choose to earn residual income, like that pays your bills. And so as we're on this journey, just be cautious and be aware. The advice that we've always been given, like maybe we need to filter it through how those people received that advice and just think through some of these things. And the problem is a lot of times, like, we don't have time to think through these financial decisions, and we get emotional and we just make a decision, which is fine. I've done it. I've been there. No judgment. But it's not really bettering your financial position if you make an emotional knee-jerk reaction to something, especially with money, but really with anything. So with that being said, going back to these clients, I said, hey, look, if I were you, this is what I would do. I'd put as little down as possible as I could on your next place, because for the reasons we just talked about before, like a bank is going to foreclose easier, believe it or not, and this is my opinion based on my life experiences. A bank is going to easily or more quickly start foreclosure proceedings on a property that has more equity, because they know that they can take it back. They're not going to be underwater. They're not going to lose money, right? A lot of your equity will be gobbled up in attorney's fees and the foreclosure cost, which I think the average foreclosure cost $50,000 or something the last time I looked it up, to a bank. So it costs them $50,000 to foreclose. So they don't want to foreclose. They just want you to make your payments, right? And that's what you're signing up for. Kind of getting back to try to put a nice little bow on this. If you have no equity, the bank is, what I've seen is the bank is usually more lenient and more likely to do a loan modification to lower your interest rate, to extend your term, to lower your payment, to just get really creative so that you keep making your payments, because that's all they want. They don't want to take the property back. They don't want to spend $50,000 on a $300,000 property that's worth $250,000, if that's, where real estate values are. They don't want to do that. And believe me, if you're the seller of that property, you don't want to go through that, because then you have a foreclosure on your record. Guess what? You need a place to live every night of the year. And so you're going to be renting and forced into something where your interest rate is 100%. And that was another conversation I had with another client, is he said, gosh, well, interest rates are they're so high right now. And he's renting. And I said, yeah, they're higher than they were for the past couple of years. However, you're currently paying 100% interest right now, because you're not building any equity. So every rent payment you make is 100% interest. And he was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Well, yeah, it's just a different opinion, right? It's not right or wrong or whatever. It's just different. So anyways, with that being said, we encourage this first client to do what I did when I was kind of getting back on buying investment properties, and let's put as little down as possible that they felt comfortable with the payment they felt comfortable with, and then take the rest of that money and shove it in a CD or a savings account or something, and just forget about it for a year. And in that year, listen to podcasts like this, listen to other podcasts, go to the Real Estate Investor Association meetups, go learn how to go from being a spender to a saver to an investor. And we all have to constantly learn that, right? So with that being said, everything is measured in life. And if you don't measure it, you can't track it or grow it. So this is just my 2 cents on a couple of conversations that I had that I thought, gosh, more people should think through these things maybe a little differently and have a different perspective and paradigm as they're trying to make these big financial decisions. So with that being said, guys, this is a shorter episode. I hope I'm bringing you value. If I am, please go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating and review. that really helps us get out to more people. And we want to help more people liberate themselves from jobs they don't like, from careers that don't mean anything to them, to be able to have time for their passions in life, whether that's, out in the mountains hiking around, whether that's being with your kids, whether that's, traveling, whatever that may be. That's why financial freedom is important, is because it is the gateway that allows you to follow your passions and live a life with no regrets, which is ultimately most important. So with that being said, thanks for listening to me for 11 minutes. Please share this with someone that you think might benefit from it. And as always, we'd love to get feedback from you. So with that being said, we'll sign off. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Financially Free Investor. If you found value in this episode or know someone who would find value in this information, please share with them, subscribe, and send us a review.